boot camps really try in helping you build that foundation. Even though after graduating, you're still feeling a bit lost, but at
Yeah,
least you have the foundation,
exactly.
you have what you need to know, and then you can start building on. You mentioned you first got your role, but what were the things that you needed to learn to just level up on this particular role? Because
I couldn't secure a front end role after bootcamp, so I was just doing
my name
WordPress.
is Esther Adebayo, and on my tech journey with Esther, I sit down with tech folks to talk about how they've been able to handle rejections, overcome obstacles in their careers, and really cut through the hype. From coding mistakes to battling rejections to balancing work life and even doing phenomenal things, my guests will share everything raw and real on my tech journey with Esther. New episodes drop every week, so you don't want to miss out. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Tech Journey with Esther. Today, we have an amazing guest with us. We have Bolaji Ogidan. He's a QA test engineer and he's here to share his journey and how, tech has been for him. So, thank you, Bolaji, for joining me today.
Thank you, Esther, for having me. Good evening,
Okay.
Esther.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Nice. All right. So before we go straight into like the main conversation, I would just like to get started with a very light question. So let's imagine you were not into tech and you were not pursuing a tech career. What other field would you have been in?
Mm, Well, I wasn't into tech before. I work
Okay.
um I work as what's it called? Like a facility manager
Okay.
before moving into tech fully. So
Okay.
probably I'll still be doing my facility thing as
Okay.
as a full time work.
Okay, interesting. No, we hear about how you switch from being a facility manager up until being a QA engineer.
Also,
But yeah, I know in 2016 you were, working as a software engineering intern. So how exactly did you make the switch into tech in 2016 is a far time. That's about 7 years ago. Up until now, you had already gotten exposure into, web development and all of that. So what made you make that switch into tech?
okay, 2015, I
Mm-hmm.
lost my job in 2015.
Okay.
So I needed a switch for a new job then. So that was the likes of Andela was coming up then. Then we
Okay.
were actually pitching tech to people. So there was this person that got into Andela then. So he pitched to me I should try to apply. So I got more interested into tech then. So I started applying. Though I didn't get in, but I got a different bootcamp which
Okay.
made me realize, oh, tech seems to be a soft part for me instead of my regular 9 to 5 job I was doing before. So that was how I made the switch. Then that was 2016.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, so how is you mentioned that you didn't get into Andela, like this particular bootcamp that you got into, how was the whole experience? Like how long was the bootcamp for?
Oh, okay. The bootcamp was for 6 months. So
Okay.
that was Code Plus. Then that was the name of the
Code plan. Okay.
academy. So that was 2016. So after writing the assessment test, so after a week, I got a mail from them. I was shortlisted. So I had to resume the subsequent month, which I did. So
Okay.
being the first time in, so okay, we were meant to introduce what led us to tech and the like. So I had to tell them about my journey, what I've gone through, and stuff like that. So we started the boot camp. So we started with HTML, CSS then. Though before then, I was just moving from one programming language to another. I'll pick up Java today, then tomorrow I'll pick up Python. So there wasn't any defined paths for me
Okay.
to start from. So I think the bootcamp actually helped me a little. So I was able to discover my strengths because we started with HTML, CSS then. Then gradually it was becoming rigorous because after spending 2 months in the boot camp, we were being told to like build what's it called? Pay stack home page. I was like, I've never done
We
this
just
thing before.
HTML and
Yeah,
CSS, right?
so it was becoming intense. So most of most of us that couldn't finish that those days, you
Mm-hmm.
move to a different class. So
Okay.
I become more gingered to like push myself more.
Mm.
So
Okay.
that was my bootcamp experience thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can totally relate because I also attended a boot camp. I attended Lambda School at that time, and I know that the boot camp is not usually the most, the easiest experience because it's
Yes.
like every single day back to back, they're always feeding you with so many information, and it
Exactly.
can be very overwhelming knowing that I think we did JavaScript in 1 week. Just thinking about it now, that was a lot. Like, and for someone like me that I didn't come from like a software engineer, I didn't have a CS background, computer science background. It was really difficult, like just grasping, all of that information. It was very difficult for me. But yeah, it's good to hear that you're also a bootcamp grad. And
Yeah.
I think bootcamps really try in helping you build that foundation. Even though after graduating, you're still feeling a bit lost, but at
Yeah.
least you have the foundation,
Exactly.
you have what
Exactly.
you need to know, and then you can start building on everything. Yeah,
Yes.
so but you have a computer science background, right? I think.
Yes, I do. I'm a computer science
Okay,
background.
that's actually very interesting because I've heard, lots of people say, oh, I'm a software engineer and I do not have, like, someone like me now, I do not have a typical computer science background. So for you, how did that influence like your entire journey? And was it easier to learn like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and or Java, or was it like the computer science really influenced it, positively, or it feel like it didn't really matter?
Well, the fact is, like, it didn't matter at all. Like, it
Okay,
was a different ball game.
interesting.
Like, the practical in the industry is different from what we were being taught in school back then. So, like, how to, like, I just had to, like, build myself up. Like, I need to do this. Then I think resources helped me as well, like free code camp. Because at some
Okay, yeah, free
point, I
code
just
camp,
had
yeah.
to like focus on free code camp only. Like I had to dump those videos I was watching earlier because I wasn't really getting what I was meant to get. So
Mm-hmm.
that was what happened. Yeah,
So free code camp was like your go-to platform where you're
exactly.
learning.
Got to because I was using. Okay, I started with Code Academy.
Okay, yeah, Code
Then
Academy, yeah.
I realized sorry, Code Academy was actually easy. You get like with when you try a task twice, if you find it hard, you get easy hits for you to go. But free code camp, like it still make you push harder for you to
Okay,
get those things done. So that was one of the
okay.
reasons I had to stick to free code camp
Okay, free
during
code
my
camp, do they
degree.
have videos or is it just text and blogs? Do they have videos as well?
No, they don't have videos,
Okay,
just text. But it's
just text.
very, yeah, it's detailed with example.
Okay,
Then you get to do projects after each task as well.
okay, okay. I know I also started like the initial time when I was at the boot camp also, I also started with Code Academy, and then after a while I dropped it also. It was just like a lot of things to,
Yeah.
learn at that point. So yeah, so um your boot camp was for 6 months, and like how long did you have to wait before you got your first job?
Okay. Then it actually took a whole lot of time because okay, like after the boot camp, then I
Yeah.
realized, man, I can't do much. Like the industry is different from all those pages I was building during boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept on applying for jobs, like okay, interviews. After interviews, I don't get any feedback from recruiters. So I had to pause for a while. So I started learning WordPress.
Interesting. What role were
So,
you what role were you applying for? Like that boot camp, was it
okay,
a
I
what
was
role was
applying
it?
for a front end role. Cause
Front end
yeah,
engineering role.
front end engineering
Okay.
role. Because I was
Okay.
actually taught front end engineering role during my boot camp.
Okay,
That
from
was
boot
what I
camp.
focused
Okay.
on. So since I couldn't secure a front end role after bootcamp. So I was also doing WordPress. So I was actually getting some few WordPress gig. So like my WordPress was just a self-taught because all I did was
Interesting.
just okay get domain for people. So I was using that to survive actually. Just doing WordPress. So
How did you
I
find
became the WordPress
WordPress?
developer. But the WordPress was actually flexible for me because it's
You
just to
enjoyed
do
it?
customization, then the store themes. Then what helped me was because I have knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it
Mm-hmm.
was actually easy for me to customize most stuff that was needed to do. Because I just feel I can't just wait for this front end stuff, like waiting for a front end role. So I needed to keep my
Yeah.
hands moving. So that was why I had to switch to WordPress. But still, there was no full time WordPress gig for me.
So it was just like a freelance kind of thing,
Exactly. So
right?
just be like a freelance stuff for me. For those moments.
Yeah, but I think it makes sense because, even though a job wasn't coming like as a front end engineer with your core coding skills, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, it makes sense that you were still able to, some of all of that knowledge as transferable. So you were still able to transfer some of the knowledge with WordPress and still at least make some money for yourself,
Yeah,
spending the time
exactly.
you now got. Yeah. So did you finally get a front end engineering role?
I did it. Like I didn't get early actually.
Okay,
Didn't get early.
okay.
Yeah.
How many, like, how long did you search, or like how was your job search process like? Was it just sending, like, what places did you find jobs, and how did you send jobs for, any applications that you saw?
Okay. Most time when I go on LinkedIn, then I see any application that has to do with front end. I check the stack required. Okay, I move to my CV, update my CV for those tasks, then do a little brush up before the interview. So after the interview, like each recruiters, they're always asking different questions every day. So eventually, I'll meet up for those roles which was posted for.
Okay.
So then, I think there was a time I actually got a short contract at the point. So that lasted for like 3 months.
Okay.
So after the contract, I started searching again for front end. Then I realized the front end, what's it called, space was becoming saturated, kind of like
Yeah.
everybody front end. Then I just thought I need to do another game switch this time around.
Mhm.
Yet, so
Yeah.
that's the QA switch this time around.
Okay. Okay. So we are entering QA test engineering now. So for me, when I found out that you're a QA test engineer, it was very fascinating because it's not a common, industry. It's not a common role that I see a lot of people in. Like you mentioned, you probably see front end engineering, back end engineering, cloud and DevOps engineering before you see QA test engineer.
Yes.
So yeah, what made you like what prompted you into this direction from studying, your boot camp was front end engineering, and I know you mentioned that it was a bit difficult to get a first job.
Yeah.
So, like, what made you say, okay, this is the industry, or this is the field I want to actually focus on? We've all been taught that resumes and cover letters are the keys to landing a job, but I'm here to tell you that there's a far more powerful tool that hiring managers are actually paying attention to. Ready to hear it? It's called your portfolio site. That's right. While everyone else is tweaking fonts on their resume, your developer portfolio is how you can wow recruiters. It shows off your creativity and skills in a way that no boring resume could ever. But building a polished portfolio from scratch takes forever, right? Wrong. I've created the ultimate portfolio site template that does all the heavy lifting for you, built with Next.js pages and Chakra UI. This portfolio site immediately introduces you to potential employers, highlighting your career achievements, gives them quick links to contact you, and check out all your socials and GitHub. All you need to do is make tweaks and deploy, and then you're good to go. Access the code for this portfolio site by visiting thefreelancehq.com/getmyportfolio.
okay, this was what happens. Like after being unsuccessful for those parts with no gigs. So there was this day, yeah, I just saw a tweet. Like there's this person building this startup. They were actually building their products. So they just
Okay.
like they actually tweeted like they've launched. Then I checked what they were building. So I just tested like normal voluntary testing like that. Then I found some bugs. You get. Then I reported the bugs to them, and then they were like, thanks for spotting these bugs out for us. Okay, then after the response, then I messaged them again, like, are they looking for a front end engineer? They were like, no, 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 for now. Like, the teams are complete for now. So after a week, they reached out to me. Would I like to test for their team? Then that was how I discovered my testing talent. Like, okay, this Q18 should be.
It's a thing.
Yeah. Then we had to do a proper onboarding.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was how I actually landed my first shoe. Because I just feel this shoe actually was able to pay my bill. Any role that is able
Mhm.
to pay my bill should be my first shoe. Then I should just stick to it. So that was how I started developing myself more on QA, then how to start using Cypress, like basic
Mhm.
QA tools, Cypress, JMeter, and the likes. So I was just moving stuff up myself, then started applying to QA roles as well. So to some extent, I found myself being grounded doing QA. Then I found QA more interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, because like unlike front end, like you can sleep today, then the next day you wake up, they'll tell you, okay, there's this new framework we want you to work with.
Yeah, true, true. I can relate with that. Yeah, I can relate with that. But you mentioned that the person posted, their application on Twitter, and from there you actually sent like a DM,
Yes,
and that was how
yeah,
like
that's
you
how.
went through and sent a DM. But that makes so much sense because like you took the initiative to be like, okay, I've actually seen these bugs, and I want to report it, and that was what really now made you get that first job. So yeah, that
Exactly.
makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
that it's interesting that even when you were sending the bug reports, you were not even thinking about QA testing and seeing how it will be like your full-time role, and see how
Exactly.
you just made the switch. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about this whole, like, you really finding your foot as a QA test engineer. So I know you mentioned you first got your role, but what were the things that you needed to learn to just level up on this particular role? Because you also mentioned Cypress, right? Like
Yeah.
learning Cypress. But how exactly did you learn? Did you go on YouTube? Did you take a course? Was it like, how exactly was your learning process to upskill?
Okay. Initially, I was actually doing a self-taught QA engineer. Then
Okay.
at some point, I feel okay. This was actually a self-taught thing. Let me get a course on this, so I could actually level up my game as well. Then I registered for a course from I think Garden Academy.
From
So
where?
Garden
Oh,
Academy.
okay.
Yeah, it's a branch of Venture Academy.
Okay.
So I registered for their QA course. So that helped me as well. So I became more comfortable as well because we were introduced to more tools. So initially, because I was actually doing a self-taught QA engineer, so most of the like how to write reports, test cases, and the likes.
Hmm.
So most of my test cases initially wasn't really detailed enough because I was just
Okay.
using my normal orientation for them. Like, okay, this should be able to work like this. So after the end of the course, so I've been able to get proper way of structuring things, the way things are meant to be done like that. So the course actually helped me as well. So before the course, there are some tools that I downloaded before the course, but it was just on my laptop. Like JMeter was on my laptop before the course, but I don't even know how to use it before. But because I was just jumping. But after the course, okay, I was able to like get a proper roadmap to use those tools.
Mm.
So that
Okay,
also helped
brilliant.
me. Yeah. Then
Okay,
that
okay.
was that was for 3 months. The course was for 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
three
that
months.
makes a lot of sense. And just, really just, will I say, reinforces the fact that self learning and even finding courses when you're self learning is very good
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's a limit to what you can really, learn and, how you can learn as a person. But when you're probably get a course and everything is structured, it really helps to improve your knowledge and even improve you on that particular role. Yeah. So QA testing, what exactly do you do at work? Like, I know you do tests, but like, how exactly is a typical day for you?
Okay, typical day for me most time how to do with when there is an update. Probably the team releases a new update.
Mm-hmm.
Or okay, let's say you work for an institution that has to do with daily transactions. Then you are the QA on the team. So there isn't any way you won't be testing every day. Because okay, for example, if your product is for API, so
Mm-hmm.
definitely you'll be working around the clock because people communicate with your API daily. So you'll keep testing,
To
like
make
we test
sure.
for security as well.
Okay.
Like we test for virtually everything, functionality.
Um,
QA is actually the main people.
so, what tools do you use aside Cypress?
Okay, I make use of Postman.
Okay.
Yeah, Postman majorly for testing the APIs.
APIs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
JMeter. I use JMeter. So JMeter is for what's it called? Checking for users. So for example, if you want to check for runtime, what it takes for like 500 users to sign up on your app, then using them at the same time. So
Okay.
those are cases where you make use of JMeter. Then there are a
Okay.
lot of tools, browser stack, just to check for.
Okay. I've heard of browser stack before.
So those
Okay.
are the tools that I use actually.
All right, nice. So for someone coming into QA testing, I know it's not a very popular field, at least in our part of the world,
Yeah.
right? You probably hear front end 10 times before you hear QA
Yeah.
testing.
Yeah.
How can they really position themselves to get QA testing jobs? What can they do? Where should they be looking? What should they be learning?
Okay, it depends actually. What helped
Okay.
me being a QA engineer at the same time is because I have the knowledge of being a developer initially.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have manual QA, then we
Okay.
have QA automation. So those involved in manual QA, they just write test cases, then use most of those tools that doesn't really require much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So people like that, like you have no tech background, if you want to do QA, all you need is just what's it called? You just need to have inner eye to check for quality stuffs.
Okay.
So that's someone with no tech background, but you're
Okay.
interested in QA. Then
Okay.
you
Like you
should be
just need to be
calm.
very
Yeah,
particular and pay attention to
pay
details
attention
to
to
know.
details
Yeah.
exactly. Then don't run into conclusion. You understand? Because there are some people that work with some dev. All they do is, oh, I believe this person work doesn't go like there won't be issue. Like you don't run into conclusion, stuff like that.
Okay.
So
Like always
perseverance,
test everything.
everything. So those like
Okay.
those factors for someone that doesn't have a tech skills. But for someone that has the tech skills, then looking forward to switch. So you can be looking into automation because that's
Okay.
like that's what they look into these days. Most recruiters are interested in someone that has the automation skills like QA automation.
Okay.
So then like there are a lot of tools for that too. So that's when you'll be hearing
Okay.
about Selenium, Cucumber and the likes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's interesting. I've heard of selenium before. That's interesting. Been a very interesting conversation just learning
Yeah.
about your story. But
Yeah.
there's one thing I want you to like, if to say to encourage someone out there that is probably looking for their tech job. For you, it wasn't an easy experience knowing that you finished your boot camp, your 6 month boot camp, and you still had to
Yeah.
apply, get rejected, and then make a switch to a totally different career. So what exactly would you say to someone to encourage them to not just give up and to keep pushing?
Okay, well, for someone trying to get into tech, I would just tell them to not to limit themselves into one pathway.
Okay.
Yeah, because like tech has a lot of pathways these days. So any path you actually found yourself, just push hard. Then just keep pushing. Then try to understand your strengths and weakness. Like
Mm.
everyone
Yeah.
can't be a dev. Like they should always know that. Then like you should just level up on whatever they're actually doing.
Yeah, that's actually solid advice because
Mm.
everyone cannot be a developer, and don't
Yeah.
just look at one particular pathway. There are other paths and there are many paths, so it's good not to be fixated on
Then they
one
should try
path
to
and keep
join
struggling.
community because I'm always attending meetups.
Communities, yeah.
I love attending meetups back then too. So
Okay.
I was able to connect to a lot of developers.
Mm.
So that helped me as well.
Okay.
I'm
Attending
always
community events. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Are you signed up to any newsletter? Anything?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Are you signed up to any tech newsletter, or
Okay,
like who are
yes,
the big people? Okay.
yes.
Okay. What newsletter are you signed up on?
I signed up on your newsletter.
Yes, that's true. Of which it's been a long while. I need
Yeah,
to
you know,
come back. Yeah, it's
exactly.
been a long while. I intend to pick that up next year. So hopefully you start getting emails from me. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
waiting for
All right. Yeah, it's been a very nice conversation with you, and I've enjoyed it just learning about your story and seeing how you've been able to navigate the tech world. Congratulations on everything you've done, and really looking forward
thank
to
you.
hearing more of your successes.
Thank you so much. It's nice having you
Yeah.
on. Then after seeing you for the first time, having a conversation with you for the first time.
Yeah, same here, same here. All right, guys. Thank you
Alright.
everyone for joining us in today's episode. See you in the next one. Bye.